Chicago Bears are set to embark on yet another coaching search. Hopefully they get it right this time around. They have not gotten it right in my entire lifetime besides for Lovie Smith, but here's to hoping the Bears finally hire the right one. They're set to interview 12 different head coaches so far, according to reports, and I want to talk about each potential candidate, a little bit about them, and what I think about them initially for the Chicago Bears. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears offseason update video, which I'll be doing anytime the Chicago Bears offseason news going on. I'll be having frequent videos on this channel covering, coaching hires, free agency, the NFL draft. Like, there's going to be a lot of discussion videos on my channel, so be sure to turn on the notifications if you guys want my thoughts and my updates on all the Bears news. But yeah, guys, so Ryan Poles, who, by the way, I'm assuming is staying as Bears GM. If they were going to fire him, they probably would have fired him by now. So Ryan Poles officially, I think, is staying, which I kind of saw coming, guys. I mean, Kevin Warren basically gave him the vote of confidence in the midseason press conference when they fired Eberflus. So, Ryan Poles is getting another chance, it seems like, to hire the next Bears head coach with help from Kevin Warren, it looks like, too. I mean, sometimes it kind of seems like Kevin Warren is running the show and not Ryan Poles with, the demeanor in the locker room, in the press conferences. It seems like Kevin Warren definitely is flexing his muscles sometimes, which, I guess I don't hate, right, the fact that there's another guy in charge, because Ryan Poles so far has not been able to himself get the right coaches in Chicago. Okay, last year he failed with the assistant head coaches. Initially, he failed with hiring Eberflus in the first place. So, you can only hope that Ryan Poles gets it right this time around. I think there's a very obvious candidate this time around that hopefully the Bears don't mess up Ben Johnson, but obviously we have to interview a lot more people in case Ben Johnson for some reason does not want to go here, or if we strike out on him. Like, you still have to interview a lot of different candidates. So, the Bears got busy requesting interviews with basically everybody around the NFL. Okay, so far they've requested 12 different head coaching candidate interviews, which seems like a lot because it is. Okay, that's 12 different people you have to bring in your building or do a virtual interview with, which, takes time to do those things. But, obviously the Bears have time right now since they're not in the playoffs. So yeah, in this video, I kind of want to go candidate by candidate and give you guys my initial thoughts on each candidate, if I think they would be the right fit for the Bears. Also rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 excitement level. If the Bears did hire this guy, what my excitement level would be on a scale of 1 to 10. I'll be doing that for all these head coaching candidates, and there could be more interviews coming too. This is just the initial round of requests, but probably not too much more, guys. I mean, 12 is already a lot, so I can't imagine there being a whole lot more names being added to this list. But if there are any more, I'll be making another video, obviously in the coming days. But yeah, let's just get right into it, guys. All right, the first candidate is Thomas Brown, interim coach, is going to get the chance to interview and make his case to be the Bears' long-term head coach. And I can tell you guys right now, if we hire Thomas Brown, I won't be watching games next year. Okay, obviously I'm exaggerating on that. I would still be watching games, but my excitement level would be a 1 out of 10 for this one, because we've already seen Thomas Brown is not a good head football coach. I know he was thrown into a tough situation, but the Bears were 1-4 with him. The offense really stagnated under him. He was much better in the booth calling plays than he was on the football field. And as a head coach, you have to be on the football field. It seems like the Bears lack discipline under him too. So, I don't think Thomas Brown's getting this job. I think they're just doing it as a formality to give him the chance to interview. But yeah, I would not be excited if the Bears hire Thomas Brown. The next candidate is Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, the hot name, the guy that Bears fans have been wanting for multiple off seasons now. And if the Bears hire Ben Johnson, my excitement level would be 10 out of 10. Okay, this is the guy I badly want the Chicago Bears to hire. I think he would be the perfect hire for Caleb Williams. He really is the most polished head coaching candidate I've seen in a long time. If you look at his resume, he's had 3 seasons in Detroit, and his offense has been one of the best, if not the best, in football during all of those 3 seasons. He took over midway in his first season, and the Lions, I believe, did not have a single win when he took over. They had very little wins, but when he took over, the Lions offense really took off and they started winning a lot of football games. And obviously the last 2 years, the Lions have been one of the best teams in football, one of the best offenses in football. I think he knows how to really innovate, how to design plays, how to design, an offense around the strengths of his personnel. So I think Ben Johnson would be a slam dunk home run hire for the Chicago Bears. The Bears will also be interviewing Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn has been the DC in Detroit since 2021. They've had some pretty decent defenses, and this year the defense is really, really good. Okay, the Lions have a top 5 defense in some categories, and even with all the injuries, they're still doing a pretty good job. So Aaron Glenn knows how to get the most out of his personnel, even with all the injuries. I think he's a very good leader. Players talk very highly of him, but if the Bears hire him, my excitement level would only really be a 3 out of 10. Okay, this kind of reminds me of a Matt Eberflus type hire where you're getting a defensive coordinator that you're just questioning if he can get the right offensive mind in here. Like, he doesn't excite me as much as some of the other defensive guys like a Mike Vrabel would, for example. So would not be too excited if the Bears go after Aaron Glenn. Next up, the Bears will be interviewing Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. Anthony Weaver's been coaching in the NFL since 2012. He's been the Dolphins defensive coordinator only for this year. Before that, he was with the Baltimore Ravens for a couple years. And under Anthony Weaver, the Dolphins have actually had a really good defense. They have a top 5 defense in points and a top 10 defense according to yards. So getting the most out of the talent on the Dolphins defense. He's also described as very high energy. Players like him. He seems like a good, leader of men type of guy. But if the Bears hire him, my excitement level would be a 2 out of 10. He doesn't even have much experience calling plays on defense, and he's only really been a good defensive coordinator like this 1 year with the Dolphins. So I feel like he has a lack of experience, even if he may be a very high energy, nice guy. The Bears need an offensive mind, in my opinion, to mold Caleb Williams. And if it's not an offensive mind, I want a more veteran defensive-minded head coach. You're going to hear me say this for all these other defensive candidates. I'm not really a fan of hiring a defensive candidate after Eberflus because your ceiling is so limited. Even if you hire the right offensive coordinator, that offensive coordinator is going to leave after a season or two. I want stability. I want the same guy for Caleb Williams, the same play caller for a long, long time. So I will not be excited if the Bears hired Anthony Weaver. Next guy on the list is Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. He's been the OC in Arizona for the past 2 seasons. This season, the Cardinals have had a pretty solid offense. They rank borderline top 10 in many categories. So he's done a pretty good job working with Kyler Murray this season. It's still not been an elite top of the league type of offense, but he does do some good things. I think, he has the experience now working with the mobile shorter quarterback in Kyler Murray, and in some ways Kyler and Caleb's game is a little bit similar, not entirely, but they were both coached up by Lincoln Riley, obviously, went to Oklahoma, and I think there's some familiarity there in Drew Petzing with the type of quarterback he's coached, but I don't know, my excitement level would only be maybe a 5 out of 10. I'd be happy they're going after an offensive guy, but I don't think Drew Petzing has the firepower or the experience to really make Bears fans excited about this hire. The Bears will also be interviewing Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, and to be honest, guys, this does not seem like a very serious interview for me. I don't think there's any chance he gets a job. Obviously, he's from Chicago. He went to Northwestern. He's a local guy, and he has a connection to Ryan Poles with the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the Kansas City Chiefs quality control coach, quarterbacks coach there for quite some time, but I just don't see how after such a poor coaching job the Giants coaches have done, how could you possibly hire him to be your head coach? It doesn't make any sense. My excitement level would be a 1 out of 10 if the Bears hired Mike Kafka. Bears will also be interviewing Brian Flores, and Brian Flores, as you guys know, was the Dolphins head coach for a couple seasons. He coached Tua 2019 to 2021. After that, he was the assistant coach for the Steelers, and then last year and this year he's been the Vikings defensive coordinator. And the Vikings have had a pretty good defense under Brian Flores for the most part. There's been some bad games, but I feel like for the talent level he's been given, he's gotten the most out of that talent level. He's a very respected defensive mind. I'm sure the Bears would have a very fearsome defense under Brian Flores. He's a no-nonsense type of guy. Players definitely respect him, but I would not be the biggest fan of this hire, if I'm being honest, guys, because of how he treated Tua, when he was a head coach there. I know that Tua, has his own faults. He's not a really good quarterback in many people's opinions, but Brian Flores basically had no interest in even trying to coach Tua. He straight up just said he sucks. He doesn't belong in this league. And yes, I know some people, do appreciate the harsh brutal coaching, but I feel like with today's generation of players, like that's not gonna work. Like I know Caleb said he wants to be coached harshly, but I want a guy that believes in him, that's gonna, really hype him up and like motivate him and not just always tear him down, And Brian Flores also had no ability to find good offensive coordinators in Miami, which is a big red flag. So my excitement level would only be like maybe a 4 out of 10 if the Bears hire Brian Flores. Another guy the Bears are going to interview is Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, who was also a former head coach for the Atlanta Falcons for 3 seasons. He was a Titans offensive coordinator before that, working with Mike Vrabel, and he had a good amount of success with Mike Vrabel as a Falcons head coach. He did not really have that much success, like largely a failure as a head coach in the past. And this year for the Steelers, they've had some good moments, but it's not like the offense has been a top of the league offense. Like I would not be very excited if the Bears hired Arthur Smith. Excitement level would only be a maybe like a 4 out of 10. I would be happy they're going after an offensive minded guy, but I feel like, these retread head coaches oftentimes do not work. Like if they failed before, they're probably going to fail again. And I know that Caleb would be the best quarterback he's worked with talent wise by far, so maybe it does work, but I just would not be the biggest fan with his history in the league so far. The next guy on the list is Mike Vrabel himself, and this is the only defensive guy that I would be extremely excited for the Bears to hire. Like my excitement level would be, I would say, an 8 out of 10, just because I have always been a massive Mike Vrabel fan. Like I feel like he's gotten the most out of some pretty mediocre Titans rosters. Like he took, Ryan Tannehill to the AFC Championship game, right? And like he just always gets the most out of his rosters. I know the last couple seasons weren't the best there for him, but a lot of that was due to how poor the roster was. And I still feel like he coaches guys hard. He holds guys accountable, which is something Matt Eberflus never did. I mean, Mike Vrabel would be the first no-nonsense, big authoritative personality in House Hall in a long time. Like I can't remember the last time the Bears had a guy like that at head coach. So from a leader of men standpoint, he would be the perfect leader of men. The only question mark would be who would be his offensive coordinator, which again is a big question mark. That's why I don't really want to go after the defensive guys. But if we do go after a defensive guy, it better be Mike Vrabel, in my opinion. Like he's already been a very successful head coach in the past with the Titans. The next one is pretty interesting. It's Mike McCarthy of the Dallas Cowboys, and his contract just ran out with the Cowboys, so technically he is a free agent, but it seems like the Cowboys do want to bring him back, so I wonder if the Bears even get the chance to interview Mike McCarthy. But my excitement level if the Bears hired McCarthy would be a 5 out of 10, which might be a little bit harsh because technically Mike McCarthy would be the best head coach the Bears have had in a long time. Like he's gotten good seasons out of many Packers rosters, many Cowboys rosters, and he has won a Super Bowl. Okay, he has Super Bowl winning experience, but that was a long time ago. Okay, 2010 was a long time ago now, and I just think that recently with the Cowboys, he's choked way too many times in the first round of the playoffs. So even though he is a pretty good offensive mind, he coaches guys tough, players do respect him, I just can't see myself getting so excited about this hire with him failing in the playoffs so many times. I know that as a Bears fan, like even getting to the playoffs would be amazing, but I want the Bears to shoot for the moon and like get the guy that can win us a Super Bowl, not only some playoff victories. Next guy is Todd Monken, the Ravens offensive coordinator for the past 2 seasons. Before that, he was working with Georgia, being the OC and quarterbacks coach there. And my excitement level for this hire would be maybe a 6 out of 10. Like, I think he's a very strong offensive mind. He has experience working with a mobile quarterback in Lamar Jackson. So I think with Caleb Williams, he could do a lot of great things. The only question marks I have is that he's getting kind of old. Like, he's going to be 59 years old next season. I know that's not crazy old for NFL standards. Like, he could still coach for another 10 years if his health stays good. But I'm just questioning why he did not get a head coaching job yet. Like, he had some experience working in the NFL before and, you know, doing a good job with the Ravens, but he's not like a very extremely exciting hire, I would say, because, you know, you kind of want that, you know, Kyle Shanahan, the Matt LaFleur, the Sean McVay, the younger offensive mind that can be your head coach for like forever, like for a long time. And I know that's not the only way you can win a Super Bowl, which is why I would still be, you know, fairly optimistic with Todd Monken, but he's not my preferred option, I would say. And the last guy the Bears are interviewing so far is Broncos personnel executive David Shaw. This one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't think he's going to get the job. My excitement level would be a 1 out of 10 because he's mostly been a college coach as of late. Like, he's not been a football coach in the NFL since 2005 with the Ravens. Like, it would not make any sense to hire him. I'm not sure why the Bears are interviewing him. Maybe just to get some knowledge from him or just get a free lunch out of it. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't think he's going to be the Bears head coach. So there you have it, guys. Those are all the interview requests so far. I think there could be more coming still. Like, Pete Carroll has really said he wants this job, so Pete Carroll could be a potential interview. Liam Cohen of the Buccaneers, maybe Joe Brady of the Buffalo Bills. So there still could be a couple more coming, but again, probably not too much more. Like, you don't want your list of candidates to be like 30 or 40, like, so they're probably stopping pretty soon. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Like, who do you guys want to be the Bears' next head coach? And there's also been some possibilities thrown out of like trading for a head coach, but I just don't think that's very realistic right now. Like, which team is going to trade away a good head coach? Like, you know, Kyle Shanahan is not going to be traded. Sean McVay's probably not going to be traded. Kevin O'Connell, there's a report that he potentially could be traded, but there's no chance in hell the Vikings would trade him, especially in division. So I don't think a trade is very likely. So, you know, what do you guys want? Like, who do you guys want to be head coach? In my opinion, it has to be Ben Johnson. That is by far the, you know, most easy choice, I feel like, to make it head coach. But you know, I'm not in the building. I'm not doing the interviews. So maybe there's other stuff behind the scenes affecting, you know, the Bears' decision. But hopefully they make the right one this time around. Leave your comments down below. As always, bear down.